I don't mean to cry, but when you're snatched right out of hell, somebody cares. And I was just about to find out who that person was. It was God the Father himself.
As your skin is being ripped from your body, as your teeth are being broken, as your tongue is being clipped, as your eyes are protruding out of your head, you know what you think about? You think about every time your grandmother told you that you need to serve God. You know what you think about? You think about every time you turn the TV channel and you heard a message about serve God and repent. You know what you think about? You think about every time somebody came to you and told me, do you know Jesus Christ? Do you have a relationship with Jesus Christ? You think about that. You think about that. You hear about the times that you could have prayed and you get tormented. You get tormented because you had the chance to serve God. You had the opportunity to serve God. You had the opportunity to have everlasting life, but you chose to party. You chose to fornicate. You chose to lie. You chose to steal. You chose to do drugs. You chose to get drunk. You chose to cheat on your husband or your wife.
The only way I could describe this screaming, you have to understand I'm a man, right? I'm a man. Like, I didn't cry out like a man. I didn't wail like a man. The pain had me so bad. My head went up and I began screaming like a woman who was being tortured. And I'm sorry, but that is the only possible way to describe it. Anything else, I would be undercutting it.
Hey, this is where I deserve to be. This is my full nature, sin nature, totally exposed. I saw my ugly pride for what it is and what it does. And I felt this presence coming behind me, and I thought that presence was going to throw me into this place because I did not want to go, and I was being pushed by a force into it, though my feet weren't moving. And the dirt was going over my feet and stuff. And all those worms going around, coming out of the ground. I won't get into all that. And so as soon as all of a sudden I heard footsteps, and the footsteps would shake the ground, and boom, boom. And all of a sudden the entities took off out of that cell and hid. If I start crying, I after all these years, every time I talk about this, it's hard. It was Jesus. He was behind me. And he picked me up. And give me strength to do this. He picked me up. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
And he picked me up and carried me like a baby. And I saw the holes in his wrist and his bones pulled apart. I lost it. Because I knew I pulled his bones apart. I put him on the cross, even though I wasn't there.
In your dreams, you don't feel pain like what I was feeling, because it's a pain beyond physicality. The pain I was feeling in that moment, if I had been feeling that here in this physical body, my brain would have shut down because it would have been on overload. The pain that encompassed me and consumed me was so horrendous. I instantly began screaming, and I'm talking screaming, you guys. And if you don't mind, Julie, there's only a couple times, and this is one of them, I have to be graphic, because the severity of hell and the horrors of hell, you are.
They considered me not as a person, but simply as prey. I was food and fuel for their purposes. And they also began to project to me images of what that it was going to be like for me in hell, which was just mind-blowingly horrific. The worst possible situation you could imagine on earth is not even in the same order of magnitude as the least problem in hell. And it was chaotic. It was horrible. There was going to be endless, intense pain. There was hunger. There was thirst. There was incredible feelings of exhaustion and absolutely no relief. And they were going to be able to do whatever they wanted to me. And they really, 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 really hated me, with the singular aim of harvesting my soul, because they are predators. We are the prey. At least that's how they look at it. And their goal was to cause me to fail in my purpose for God, not achieve salvation, instead be lost, so that they could take my soul. Because aligned with the devil, they're agents of Satan. Satan and his whole crew have been cut off from all of that. So the only way that they can survive is to prey on living things. And it's not just people, they also prey on other things too, but we are the prime resource. A human being is worth like thousands of any other creatures. I decided I don't want to go to hell. This is not going to, this, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to put up a fight here. And that's kind of my character.
You didn't even have to be here. God does not send people to hell. We send ourselves to hell. God does not send anybody to hell. He loves us too much. He loves you too much. He loves me too much. We send ourselves to hell. We do. We send ourselves to hell. God doesn't send people to hell. Glory.
And I rested there for a bit because hell is such a terrible place. It just, it impacts you that much. And I needed to recover. Finally, all of a sudden, this voice spoke. And it was God the Father. It was God the Father himself. And he spoke. And when he spoke, that whole place shook with pure authority. I had never, ever encountered such authority in my life. But it didn't make me afraid. I just knew that I met the final authority. And he said to me, Randall, I trust you. And when he said that, I just melted down. I started weeping and crying and crying. And I tried to argue with God. I said, how can you trust me? Look what I did. I was going to be in the lake of fire. How could you do that? And God the Father silenced me. And he said, quiet, Randall. I know all that. I put all that on my son. And at that moment, I realized he really had. He had put all my rebellion. He had put all my self-will. He had put all my sins on his son. And his son paid the price. So I wouldn't have to. When God the Father said, I trust you, he reached a really, really key point with me. And I'm sure it's true of all of us. A relationship is built on trust. And it has to start with trust.
I've never felt love like that ever. And for a minute, he just didn't say anything. And that was, I just lost it. I lost it. But I can hear him getting closer and closer. And I'm thinking, wow, he runs fast. There's no outrunning the love of Jesus. There, you can't escape his love. And he was getting closer and closer, and I knew it was pointless to stop running. And so I stopped running. I just closed my eyes. I closed my eyes and just bowed my head. And there was no way I was turning around. There was no way. I just couldn't. And I felt him approach me. He's so close. You could feel the warmth of his body. And then I felt him put his arms around me like this. And he pulled me into his chest as hard and as tight as he could. And he rested his chin. I could feel his beard on my cheek. His love was just so overwhelming. And I couldn't resist it. There was just, stop resisting it, Joel. Just take hold of it.
It's crushing. It's crushing to know that. And it was the truth. And I knew it was the truth. And I knew this was the truth too. Is that he would do that for every other person. He wants so badly to have a personal, intimate relationship with you and me. He wants that so badly that he was willing to go to that cross for you and for me. Sorry. And I said, everything about you is true. I'm sorry. Reliving this every time, it is such a big, powerful thing for me. Oh my goodness, so big and powerful. And I said, so everything about the cross, that's true too? In that moment, I was transported through time to be right there at the foot of the cross, right in front. And I was able to see Jesus as he is being crucified on the cross. And my goodness, okay, but I can tell you, I'll tell you what it is. It was a Roman cross. It had a cross beam up at the top, and his arms were splayed out, stretched out really wide. And he wasn't hanging loosely, he wasn't anything like that. It was very, very painful. He was stretched to the limit, and he looked so bad. He was beat so bad. And you really have to get a true understanding about how vicious they were to him and what he went through. He was covered in blood. He was battered and beaten. It was almost as if you could barely even make out that he was a man. He was beaten so bad. His beard was half pulled out. He had blood running down his face. It's covered, matted with his blood, and it's got dirt and everything in it. He's got this crown of thorns just pressed down on his head. It can't move. It's stuck there. And I can see the agony that he is in. But this, I can also see, as I'm there viewing this, I can also hear his thoughts. And his thoughts towards me personally. And I knew in that moment, I get from him that if I was the only person in all of creation that ever would have said yes to him. He would have gone to that cross, the one he's on right now. He would have gone to that cross just for me. He would have gone through this just for me. Just for me, Jennifer. Cool. And I am just recognizing that I'm not just there with Jesus. I recognize that the Father is there too.